welcome back to another reading vlog. I haven't done one of these in a little bit of a while, so sorry if I'm a little bit rusty. But if you've seen my June TBR, you'll know it's freaking long. It is 12 books long and I am so far behind already. It's currently the 7th of June, so we're a week into June and I'm yet to finish my first book because I've been in such a reading slump. So it hasn't gone off to a great start. I've been in a reading slump for two reasons. One being that I had a really good reading month in May. You'll see if I think my wrap up should be up by now. But I had a really good reading month in May until about halfway through, and then I picked up this big chunky book. And one, I had lots of deadlines in, so that was part of it. But two, I've got about halfway through and I just cannot get further. It feels like it's taking forever. And I think that's because every time I pick it up, I just read like a few pages and then put it down again. It's quite like your traditional war, kind of medieval fantasy feel book, and it is a lot of like, the war bit is very like strategic and like, I don't know if I'm a big fan of that kind of fantasy. Like, I like when wars happen, but I'm not quite so interested in like the strategies of war and that kind of thing. That seems to be what it's really focused around. I much more prefer going into those things when I really am invested in the characters. So like, for example, at the end of like a massive long series and there's a big fight scene, and like I like that because I'm invested in the characters. But this, I'm just kind of like a little bit bored. So I'm hoping to push through and finish it. So I might talk a bit more about that if I pick it up in this vlog. I'm not sure. The second reason I haven't been very productive was because for my birthday I got Animal Crossing on Switch. I got a Switch basically, and I got Animal Crossing with it, and it has been great making my life better, but it has been not so great for my productivity. It has literally decreased. So we need to get a shimmy on, and these vlogs tend to make me a lot more productive, so that's why I'm vlogging. So yes, the book that I picked up instead, and I've got quite far through it, like I've only got 100 pages left, so I'm hoping to finish it today, is Cryer's War by Nina Varela. So this is it feels a little bit like a fantasy when you read it. Like, I can understand why it's described as a fantasy, but it has like a big sci-fi kind of vibe to it as well, because it revolves around a world where people have made they're like made humans, so they're like not cyborg, they're not robots, but they are made, like they don't breed or like things like that, like you have to physically create them. They don't heal as well, like they don't need to breathe, they don't need to eat, that kind of thing. And it's kind of the conflict between those, and they've kind of come to power now, so they rebelled and they beat the humans and they're now in power, and the humans are now subservient. And it's kind of about that. It also is a female-female romance, and that's kind of coming to fruition now. It's been very easy to read. Like, it's been a good one to get me out of the slump. I don't think I'm enjoying it as much as I expected to or hoped to. I think partly because I am in that kind of mindset of the reading slump. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna rate it at the moment, because I feel like maybe if I wasn't in that kind of mindset I'd enjoy it more, but obviously you can never tell because that's not how you're reading it at the moment. It is a YA fantasy, and I always find the transition from reading a adult fantasy to a YA fantasy a little bit difficult sometimes, just because there's just some things that you get from YA, some things you get from adult fantasy that you don't get in the other two genres, if that makes sense, in like the writing style, the kind of plot structure, and just those kind of elements. If you make, like, I'm not saying anyone's better, but I do find sometimes transitioning between the two, I struggle to get back into the other genre, if that makes sense. I'm gonna hopefully finish it today, gonna get cracking on that, put myself on a ban from Animal Crossing, and we'll see how far I go. I've already read about 100 pages today. I worked out if I was to complete all my books this month, I needed to read at least a minimum like 150 pages a day. I haven't done that at all. I think yesterday was the first day I actually hit that target. The other days I haven't read at all, so very far behind. So hopefully I'll be finishing this today. Then I think the next book on the like little make your myth taker chart is The Odyssey, is what I've picked for a foiled cover. So we shall be going into that one next. So see you hopefully when I finish this. So it's the next day and I did manage to finish Cryer's War, and I really don't know what to rate this because I enjoyed it but I didn't love it. So I don't know. I feel like the more I think about it, the more I'll kind of come to a decision, perhaps later on in the week. I really liked the kind of idea and concept behind it, and I thought it was done really well. So it follows two points of views. One is not human because they're made, but they kind of are like humans, and everything about them is made from their body to their kind of brain and personality almost. So they're given 4 kind of pillars of thought and I suppose personality traits. Normally 2 human and 2 autome, and the autome are the ones that rule the country because they're like more powerful and they don't get hurt as much, they don't feel the cold as much. When they do get hurt and they do bleed, they do have blood, but it's violet blood, it's not red like humans. And there's different things like their eyes, instead of like when you shine a light on them, instead of them going black like ours do, or like the pupil, they actually shine gold, I suppose, because obviously our eye is a massive hole. So sorry if that freaks you out. So those kind of like little details in that I thought were really cool, like the eye thing. And I really liked how the world was created, because I think a lot of magic systems and stuff like that, the magic people are kind of the underlying, like they're like in the dark, they can't like be open about it and stuff like that. And I always struggle with those ones. Obviously they can be done well, don't judge, but I always struggle with those ones because I always feel like if they were more powerful, surely they wouldn't be in the dark, they'd be like overruling or at least equal to humans in some sort of way. But I don't know, that's just, I don't know, just a thought I often have. But some books obviously do that very well and some don't. So I think this was, I actually quite liked that, the fact that there'd been a history behind it, and the fact that they were subordinate but then they overruled, and now they are the superior race, I suppose, and they kind of suppress the human race and that kind of thing. I also really liked the romance. I think some aspects of it were a little bit insta-lovey, some aspects definitely weren't. It's a hate to love romance, but it's not quite as straightforward as that. Like, I won't spoil it, but it's not as straightforward as that. And I did really enjoy it, and yeah, I was rooting for it. But there were certain things that I don't know, I think it's just my reading taste is slightly altered when it comes to YA. I don't know how to explain it, because I do love YA books and there are plenty out there that I do like. I just felt sometimes the writing style was a little bit simplistic, if that makes sense. Like, that sounds really horrible and I'm not trying to be. It just, some of the phrasing I think was just a bit clunky and not really, I don't know, as seamless as some other books can be. So that just distracted from the novel a little bit for me. But I think that is totally personal choice. I wouldn't ever disregard a book because a few phrases are clunky, if that makes sense. I don't know. I can't really put a pin on it, what it was that just kind of put me out of the story a little bit too often, but it was something, I don't know, and I just felt like I couldn't really connect with it. And things like, there were character relationships, like, I won't spoil anything, but a character does die, and normally I'm quite a reaction person, especially when their reaction's big and emotional, like the person who had the relationship with the person, or like friendship or romance or whatever. And when the novel focuses on their reaction to their death, I get really upset by it, and I didn't at all with this one. Maybe I'm just emotionally disconnected at the moment, but I didn't feel anything to do that. So I have mixed feelings about it. There were bits I really liked, bits I didn't like, and bits I wish could have done better, because I think it is a really good book, and I think I want it to be better because I really like it, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I feel like it doesn't. But yeah, so I do really want to carry on with this series, and I will be hopefully getting the next book, which I think comes out near the end of this year. Not too sure. So the next book that I'm picking up, because it's in the next line, and that is The Odyssey by Homer, and this one is translated by Emily Wilson, which is the one that I specifically want to read, and I'm enjoying it. So I've only read like 10 pages. I've read the first book, so these stories and poems like the Iliad and the Aeneid, if you've read that, they're like separated into books, and it's basically just a chapter. This is super easy to get into, like reading style. A lot of people, well, me included, especially when I didn't really know much about ancient literature, was really put off by the fact that it was called ancient literature, and I thought it would be like reading Shakespeare that I wouldn't understand at all. I understand Shakespeare a little bit better now, but you know, when you first pick up Shakespeare and you're just like, I have no idea what's going on. It's a little bit, I thought it was going to be a bit like that but it's not if you get the right translation. Translations I find really interesting. When you're getting a translation, you're not just getting the original source book, you're getting the own interpretation of the translator deeply ingrained in it. Like, you can't get away from that, obviously, because it's their interpretation of what was said. Like, it's not a straight word for word translation. Obviously, this is a very interesting translation though, because it's the first female to translate the Odyssey, and I do really want to read her introduction because we've looked at quotes from it in lectures and stuff like that, and she does bring up really interesting points about how being a translator in like today's society, you'll get a very different translation, especially if it's a man doing it and a female doing it, just because gender roles, gender society, and kind of beliefs of what females and women and they can do and what they can't do, and how they're sexualized, non-sexualized, and all that juicy stuff. But Emmy Wilson does have a very colloquial, modern language when she's translating this book, so if you are at all worried that you won't understand what's going on, I would definitely recommend picking up this one. And most translations, if they're kind of more modern, it will be really easy to understand because obviously they're translating it into your dialect. I also, if you want to know, you might not, because it's the Myth Take readathon thing, as I keep mentioning, I've decided to do like a little spread in my bullet journal. So I have started it, but I haven't finished it, and I'm not really sure where to go from now. So we shall see. I'll keep updating you on it. But so far, let me just take you. There we go. So far, I've literally just painted this tree landscape because I'm doing the goddess and the fairy, and it just seemed foresty. So I did foresty, and that's all I've got so far. I'm not really sure how I'm going to incorporate the books or the little paths I want to do, because I was literally just going off whatever, and I literally just googled watercolour forest and just found like a step-by-step paint thing, and I did that off Google Images. So yeah, and also if you wanted to see my spreads for the month, because I didn't do a video this month because I changed this again about 5 times, so it got a bit complicated with filming it. But this is my spreads for the month. So I've got June here. I showed this to my stepdad and he said it looks like the bottom half of a cat and the top half of a chicken. I don't see it myself, but you know, there you go. And then I'm continuing on with doing my page by page word count or page count in this spiral thing, because I think it looked really cool when I did it last month. If I show you, like with it all filled in, I don't think it will look quite the same with the colour, like the white being the like spirals, because of the background colour is not really showing the white up as well. But I think with the watercolours like that, it looks really cool. So we've continued on with that, and then I redid this page about 10 times, but this is the book of the month page. I'm just literally going to put a book there and maybe like a quote from the book or the star rating down at the bottom. Here I've decided to put a quotes page in because why not? Why not? And I'm going to like put little quotes on things like more watercolour pages and then stick them on there from the books that I read. Maybe like a book per quote or something like that, something along those lines. And then here I just have, oh, that's my reviews page, so I'm going to put a quote there, but I haven't decided what, and just put the start date, the title, end date, review or the rating, and then the review across here, and I've got 2 pages to do that. So yeah, that's the monthly spread. Hope you enjoyed that. If you didn't, sorry. And yeah, I'll let you know how I finish this page off if you're at all interested. do the finished spread for the Myth Take Readathon journal spread that I did, but this is it. It's not quite what I had in mind. I don't think I like it as much as I wanted to, but it's done now. I think the forest bit looks good, but I don't know. I feel like I should have thought it through a bit more before I did it. But I just have like little kind of strings coming down with the titles of all the books, and I'm not sure about this one and that one. I can't tell you what it is, so I just put a question mark at the moment and then I'll stick over it when it's the end of the month and I may have read it. But yeah, I think I might change this one at the moment, so I haven't put it down because I'm waiting for a few pre-orders and I might read them instead of that one. So yeah, that's just what it looks like in the end. So it's currently the next day, it's the 9th of June, and we're not making as steady progress as I would have liked to with the Odyssey. I'm just not feeling very focused, but I'm going to sit down and read a lot more. I'm currently on page, it says page 180, but that's like with 100 pages worth of introduction that I haven't read yet because I haven't read them. I will read those bits, but I just want to actually read the book first because a lot of them have, not spoilers, but I feel like they make more sense when you read the book first, which doesn't often make sense because it's the introduction. You think you should read it first, but it's just the way I like to do it. So I've only read about, no, I've not even read the first like 100 pages yet, so I definitely need to get cracking on that since I'm meant to be reading 150 pages a day and this is the second day of reading it. But we're going to power through. So because this is taking me a little bit longer to get through just general reading time, I'm wondering if maybe I should read this alongside another book just to speed up the process a little bit and read maybe 100 pages of like a less dense or less, I don't know, more, I don't know, like an easier book to read, and then like 50 pages of this per day just to kind of keep the ball rolling. But I don't know. I'll let you know if I do that. But I am enjoying it. It's much better than other books I've read. Yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. This is not the best update, is it? But we're going to keep it because I can't remember doing it again. So, yeah, I'm going to keep going with that and we shall see how it goes. First things first, apologies for the lighting. I was going to do this update and then it literally has gotten so dark outside. It's not even 5 o'clock in the evening or afternoon, and it's literally so dark and grey. I've had to put my light on and it's literally so horrible in my room. In the last few months, this has been when I've been like filming my YouTube videos because it's been the best lighting in my room with the sun coming in, and it's now just like cold and grey and horrible, and this is not the June I signed up for. Hopefully it will get nicer, but I did want to do a little update anyway despite the bad lighting, so apologies for that. But I did decide actually to start another book alongside the Odyssey just to break up a little bit. It hasn't really sped up my reading process, I'm not gonna lie, but what can we do? I think I'm not gonna read 12 books this month. I don't think it's gonna happen, and I think putting pressure on myself to do that will be not the best, but I'm just gonna enjoy what I'm reading and hope for the best, and I think that's the best way to go forward. So I think my new goal is to read at least 8 books, so then at least get 2 of the characters done and then see if I can squeeze in some extra ones. But I am currently on page about 150 of Where the Crawdads Sing by Celia Owens, and it's a slow burner. I am beginning to enjoy it a lot more as it goes on. It's quite sad already, and I think it is going to be a good one. It follows a young girl who lives in this marshland near this kind of rural city set in the 1960s, and she's forced to kind of just be really independent. She doesn't go to school or anything like that, so she has to kind of self-teach herself all these things, and her family like abandon her, and it's just quite sad. All the people in her life seem to abandon her, and when I went into this I originally thought because of the blurb that it was a murder mystery. Sorry, my arm is like dying, it's such a heavy camera. So it's editing Kizzy here, and I just want to interrupt because as I went back to edit that clip, like the idiot I am, when I switched hands over I covered the microphone up on my camera, so literally you can't hear anything that I say for the rest of the clip, and it was about 10 minutes of me rambling. So I'm just going to quickly summarise what I say, because one, I can't hear what it was and I can't remember what it was. But I think I was basically saying that I thought that it was a murder mystery going into the blurb because it kind of, that's what it focalises on, and it's not really like that. I explain it a little bit more in the next clip anyway, so it's fine. And then I think I also said a little update on my Odyssey reading, and I'd read quite a bit more than that, and I was just coming to the end of what I'd previously kind of studied at university. We studied the first like 10 or so books or chapters, and I was just coming to the end of that, and I thought that I was gonna speed up my reading process now that I was going past kind of what I already was familiar with, what I already kind of know. But whether or not that happened, I don't know. Well, I do, because I've now finished it, but it's all out of order now. I'm really sorry, it's terrible. I will become more professional in my vlogs at some point. Probably not any soon because I'm crap at it, but yeah, sorry about that. It's not really a murder mystery, that's not really the focal point. It's definitely more centred around the character Kaya, or Kaya even. And yeah, I'll explain more in the next clip anyway, I think, so just stay tuned. Sorry about that. Back to the video. So I think this is going to be my last little update for you, because I just like uploaded the footage that I have so far and it's already like half an hour long. You know, I'm sure it'll be much shorter once I cut out all my rambling, but still, I'm trying to keep these vlogs quite short just because I think maybe more people would like them shorter. I don't know, it's just what I'm going for. So I do have an update though, and is that I finished Where the Crawdads Sing. So yesterday I like read nearly 200 pages, or I don't know, I read quite a bit yesterday, and then I finished the last like 80 pages this morning as soon as I woke up, because I was addicted. Last night it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, so I finally just said to myself, you know, you have to put the book down and actually sleep. But this is like the definition of a slow burner, I would say. It kind of just crept up on you how much you began to like care for Kaya, who's the main kind of protagonist in this book. You kind of don't realise it, and then suddenly you're just like really invested in her life. You really want her to succeed. You really want her to just have like a happy ending. And then it kind of like spirals with the murder mystery case, which is definitely for the most part, like the first 200 or so pages, it's on the back burner. It's not really the main focus of the book, which I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a much bigger part for the majority of it. However, it is just these small little chapters that kind of just pull you through the book. Like they just kind of keep you reading a little bit throughout it. They're not the main priority until it gets to about 200 pages. And even then, it just is kind of more of a plot developer than the reason for the plot, if that makes sense. Like it's just another layer to the story than the actual story main part, if that makes sense. I have no idea if it does, but I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to give it 4.5 stars, rounding up to 5 stars. It was just like, it was just a wonderful read. There's a quote on the back that I think kind of encompasses it quite well from the New York Times book review, and it says, "It's painfully beautiful, at once a murder mystery, a coming of age narrative, and a celebration of nature," which it definitely is, all those three. Like the murder mystery, as I said, kind of just pulls it through, and the coming of age is obviously quite a big part, because we follow Kaya right from when she's like 6 years old up to her dying day is the end. So the main part obviously does focus on her kind of like childhood and her teenhood, so that's definitely a big part of it. And there's a romance element to it, which was lovely in most part. There is sexual abuse in this. There's only one scene of it, so just be wary of that. It's only like a paragraph of description in there, but that is in there. But it is also very much surrounded by nature. She obviously lives in a marsh and she's very interested in that, and it's kind of her life is the marsh and the creatures in it and the wildlife and all that kind of thing, which was really beautiful and like an interesting aspect that I didn't expect when going into it. It was not a book I would have thought I'd have enjoyed, put it that way, but I really did. So I would recommend it if you're wanting just like a slow burner that's just kind of nice and you just want a strong character that you kind of really root for. This is one for you, basically. I thought it was really good because, yeah, she's a really interesting character, Kaya, and not one you really see in books often. So I enjoyed it and I'd recommend it. That's that. I haven't read any more of the Odyssey. I'm going to read some more of that probably this afternoon and continue it tomorrow, but I might start that in a new vlog because this one's getting too long already. So thank you again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and You are raring to go for the next one. I think I'll be reading, if I continue with the little plan, it would be Lolita next, and then starting a new one, so that would either be The Song of Achilles or Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas, and then A Thousand Ships by Natalie Haynes. So who knows, I don't know which one to start because both of those are really good kind of groups. So interesting. I don't know which one to start with next. Find out in the next vlog. So thank you again for watching, and I shall see you next time. Please like, subscribe, all that jazzy stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.